So after relegation from the Championship in 2023, it's been back-to-back playoff finishes for Barnsley, firstly under Michael Duff, then under Neill Collins. But I suppose the big difference would be that while under Michael Duff, the performance levels, especially from November when he went to the classic 3-5-2, were highly encouraging and almost befitting of an automatic promotion side. A little bit different last season. I think Barnsley were a little bit more unconvincing, and I think their form towards the end of the season suggested that maybe some of their performances earlier in the campaign weren't quite sustainable, and they just about managed to get their claws into the playoffs, but lost under Martin Devaney after Neill Collins had been dismissed. They beat Northampton on the final day, but then lost the semi-final across two legs to Bolton Wanderers, despite a gallant effort in the second leg. Now, rather than give Martin Devaney the permanent job at Oakwell, they've decided to replace Neill Collins with Darrell Clarke, hoping that Darrell Clarke can translate his I was going to say survival expertise. He didn't quite keep Cheltenham Town up last season, but he gave them a very good go of it after they went 11 games without a goal. He's hoping to translate the skills he showed at Whaddon Road to Oakwell, where Barnsley are hoping for another playoff push. Are Barnsley ready to make long-term progress, and can Darrell Clarke take the Reds up? Both those things and more we're going to be discussing on this Summer Deep Dive. Yes, welcome along to the latest EFL Debate Summer Deep Dive, one of 72 we're doing across the EFL between mid-June and mid-July, club by club. Already the full set for League Two uploaded to YouTube and to Spotify, so go and check those out. Give us a subscribe and maybe even drop your comments in and give us a review once you're done with this one, of course. For now, delighted to be joined by the legend that is Andy Symcox from Red All Over. Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Not bad at all, Gabriel. And thank you. Before we start, thank you for the for you and Matt Farley for the happy birthday message that you sent, the video that sent me. It was lovely to receive. It was a
How
great
was your birthday?
Oh, it was wonderful. I had no idea. I walked around and there were about 70 people there. I had absolutely no idea, including Joe Beardsall and Alan Smith. I wouldn't have invited them myself from Red All Over. I'd have left.
You can just tolerate them, I guess.
Yeah, What an introduction, Gabriel. In the first bit of introduction, you managed to get the first thing you said were about Barnsley getting relegated a couple of years ago. You managed to get that in. You also managed to get in that our new coach, Darrell Clarke, got relegated last year. And not to mention a Birmingham City being relegated last season. Didn't even get that in. And do you know that you should be a politician? There's some spin on that with you. There's some right spin on that. So anyway,
you've made us suffer enough at St Andrews over the years, Andy. You don't need to make me suffer anymore.
Well, I told you before we started with the fixtures coming out today, I was really hoping that our first match would be away to Birmingham City, so we get an easy 4-0 win. But not to be. When did we say it was? December times?
Yeah, December at Oakwell. I'm not sure when the other game is, but the first one's at Oakwell in December. Yeah,
that'd be something to look forward to. I did look this morning about the number of games. I mean, we're starting off on a Friday night at home against Mansfield, and some of my family come from Mansfield and are Mansfield supporters.
Oh, right.
So my niece Emma and her daughter. It's a strange family. Emma, my niece, and a daughter Izzy support Mansfield because they come from Mansfield, whereas a husband who also comes from that area and a son support Blackpool. So that's going to be It's going to be an interesting year for them.
Do you know, that sounds like quite a bit of fun family banter, I reckon. Sounds like the Christmas dinners are going to be quite lively.
I think you're probably right. You're probably right. And I've got more sympathy with Emma than that lot over in Lancashire, but you know.
Yes,
we'll see. So yeah, it's going to be.
It's
going to be an interesting season, to be honest, for everybody.
Nottinghamshire and Lancashire represented in a Yorkshireman's family.
I know it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. I try not to talk. I don't know why I brought it up. So I try not to talk about either of them. I can help it.
Right. Should we get on to Barnsley? So, where do you think Barnsley are at as a club right now, Andy?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? Like you said in the introduction, under Michael Duff, after relegation, thank you. After relegation, Michael Duff did a remarkable job on turning it round. Not just on the football pitch, but in general, because we were down in the dumps and everybody was angry with everybody and upset with everybody, and he managed to turn it round and come close. And it didn't quite materialise. Then he threw a curveball by, having said that he was going to stay for a long period of time. He left, went to Swansea, presumably more money or whatever, and now he's back at Huddersfield, or at Huddersfield, back in Yorkshire at Huddersfield. And I hope he does well. We've got friends that support Huddersfield, so I hope he does well there. Weren't impressed particularly with Neill Collins. He came with not a fan face. We didn't know who he was, but expecting the same sort of style of play. A high press, getting among them, crisp football on the front foot. Didn't happen. Last season, I mean, I'll not go off Barnsley too far, but one of the reasons I'm so fed up with watching the England performances this last week is that it's like watching Barnsley play last season in the main, not entirely, with a couple of games where we went for it and then reverted to the. But you could guarantee we did exactly the same. You guarantee that we got the ball at the edge of their box, the opposition box, and somehow it's back on the halfway line with the centre halves or even further back. Don't get it. I ain't got a problem with with possession-based football as long as it's pulling teams from side to side and then going for it. Creating a gap, if you like, and then exploiting it. But so many times last season it was possession football for the sake of possession football, and truthfully, it's boring, and it's not. If you're winning, it worked. It worked away from home better. We had a good away record in the main until towards the end of the season, as you've said. So it worked, but it didn't work at all well, and it was just boring to watch. Just absolutely boring to watch. It felt that everybody, when they got the ball, were looking to pass it back rather than looking forward to pass it forward, to pass it back, and it just weren't good enough. So I'm hoping with Darrell Clarke, we seem to have a lovely combination with Cheltenham. We always seem to get people from Cheltenham. So we got Martin Devaney, who came to us originally as a player from Cheltenham, and obviously Michael Duff, and now Darrell Clarke. I knew about him, but and I know the issues that he had in his personal life, which shows the fortitude of the guy. I like what I'm hearing and reading. So it's looking a bit. I don't want to say it's looking a bit Michael Duffish, because he's Darrell Clarke, not Michael Duff Mark II. Sure. So it's looking okay as far as that concerned. I think it's for me. Some people don't think it's quite the same, but for me, I think it's a masterstroke bringing Conor Hourihane back as as a player coach, and then ultimately in a couple of years' time as a coach, because although he's 33, the guy has got a wand of a left foot. Like in American football, if they get into an attack, they bring somebody on to be able to do the kick. We could. I think for the next 10 years we could bring Hourihane on in the same way, just to take corners and free kicks, and then let him go off again, because his deliveries are just something else. So I'm really pleased for that, and it'll help the younger players. So I honestly think that that's a masterstroke. So it's looking up. We haven't signed anybody else yet, but unlike Rotherham, we've signed, I don't know how many Rotherham signed, 300 players, I think. But they needed to, because they got rid of about 300 players as well. So good luck to Rotherham. But I think it'll come together. It'll come together. They're not back till next week anyway, are they? There's a few come back, get fit, like Donovan Pines and what have you, to up the fitness. But next week will be the time. But we need to sign some players.
No question about that. I think the big strength of Darrell Clarke, from my time sort of studying his work is he's very decisive. So if he'll start off with a plan, but then if it's not working, even 10 minutes in, he might change formation or rejig something. He's not afraid to make substitutions sometimes before half time or at half time. There was one game last season away at Blackpool where Cheltenham, I think they might have been 2-0 down or something, and there were and he made 4 substitutions at half time, and I think they still lost the game, but they were better in the second half. So what I would say about Darrell Clarke side is that they're probably not going to go down without a fight. He's always going to try and change things, and he's a very decisive, instinctive manager. So is that something you're excited to see?
It is. Don't start to scare me though that we might have a coach that's got a plan B. We've not had a plan B for the whole of last season. See, you're gonna scare me if you start saying that we've got a plan B coming up. No, it's looking very it's looking positive. It feels well. I don't know about after the doldrums. Even though we managed to get into the playoffs, blew it in the first leg against Bolton, as you've said, but then came back and had an amazing second half at away to Blackpool, Bolton. That was really good. But you know, it wasn't good, Gabe. So hopefully, it's going to be a good league. I think. You know, you're looking at the teams that have come down. You know, there's been a couple of decent teams come down. You know, Rotherham and Huddersfield. They're Can't help it. Can't help it. Oh, go on then. And Birmingham as well. And of course, the teams that have come up. You know, Stockport, really good last year. Mansfield, obviously, with a family connection. And Wrexham, it's good. You know, they've gone, you know, their meteoric rise. So, it's going to be an interesting league. Some really good, a good league. A really good league. So, hopefully, we can rediscover that we play football in a certain way that excites people and gets people off the seats. I know I'm knocking on now, and it's a struggle to get off my seat sometimes, but rarely got off my seat last season. The only time I got off my seat is if somebody stood up in front of me and I couldn't flipping see, so I had to stand up to see what was going on.
I thought it was when people helped you up sometimes.
No need. No need at all. I thought we were friends, but there's no need for that. No need for that. You're disinvited to my birthday party that you didn't come to. I know why. I'm glad you didn't come. I'm glad you were with Matt Farley. I'm glad he had to suffer rather than me have to suffer.
Absolutely. So in terms of the squad then, the big thing that stands out to me is you've got in terms of the squad, it's looking a little bit imbalanced because you've basically got no left wing backs other than Hayden Pickard, who's come through the academy, and I imagine Hayden would want to give himself a loan or maybe stay in the under-21s because I think he's still very young, so can't expect too much too soon. So I guess that's the big priority that jumps out at me looking at the squad right there. Left wing back is definitely needs strengthening after Nicky Carden went.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, we need. There's a few positions we need, both for strengthening, but for the first team particularly. I think we need a goalkeeper. Ben Killip didn't do bad when he came on, but we need a goalkeeper that will command his area. And I didn't see that towards the end of the season. You know, Liam Roberts were excellent for the first half of the season. Got injured when he came back. It drives me mad sometimes, and he did it towards the end of the season. Goalkeepers that, you know, there's corners or free kicks dancing on the line. And I think, come and get the ball. Just come and get the ball. You know, get someone on it, punch it, catch it, wherever. We see so many times at Oakwell that, you know, we put a cross in and the goalkeeper just says, thank you very much, and catches it. We're not doing that. We'll just leave it to the defenders. So I'd like to see a decent goalkeeper. I was disappointed. I'm pleased for him, but disappointed because I thought we might. My personal hope would have been that we'd have got Southwood from Cheltenham, but he's gone to
Oh yeah.
Bolton, which is a shame. I know.
Well, that would have been a better move. That would have made more sense, I think, for Luke Southwood, because at Bolton he's going to be back up to Nathan Baxter, who's very much their first choice.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you go somewhere like Barnsley, where you're more likely to stand out? So,
I mean, we might not have gone in for him, but it's a shame because I think he's
sure.
a really good goalkeeper. So that's certainly a position that we need to get to get in. You're absolutely right about left wing back. There'll be the occasional player that like Corey O'Keefe can fit in at left wing back, but he's not a left wing back.
Well, Callum Styles did it in the season under Ishmael, but I don't know whether Callum Styles. Do you think Callum Styles is going to stay?
No.
I
wish. I mean, it's not a popular opinion to like Callum Styles, but I like Callum Styles. I think he's a.
I think the thing is, Andy, it's like he was so good under Valerian Ishmael. That's how I see it. That actually in the last 3 seasons they feel like a bit of a come down for him. So maybe people feel like, why haven't you been able to reach those levels? So kind of a victim of his own success in a way.
It clearly doesn't want to be at Oakwell.
Right.
He clearly wants to go elsewhere, perhaps for his his international ambitions, or to continue his international ambitions. He wants to be at least wants to be in the Championship. He's got to earn that. He didn't earn it at Millwall.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to earn it at or if he earned it at Sunderland, because there were mixed reviews. Some thought he was all right at Sunderland. Some really didn't want to sign him. So I don't know what.
Is he in the last year of his contract, presumably?
It will be now, yeah. He signed a new contract when he went out on loan to Millwall, and I think that was part of the agreement.
Right.
So, in that respect, it didn't.
That's a slightly odd thing, isn't it? That you're signing a new it's like, this is an established first team player. You're loaning him out to a division higher, and he's signing a new contract.
I think that was part of a deal that will loan you out because you want you've got your international ambitions. You want to play consistently for Hungary, so he wants a higher league. We're not going to let him go for nothing. So if you want to go on loan to a Championship side, like he did to Millwall, you have to sign this.
Okay.
That's how I read it, and I don't know. It's just what I thought.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I can't. It'd be a shame because I think he's a decent player. I really think he's a decent player. But at wing back, it's better at wing back. He'd play well for us at wing back, but he don't want to play for us as far as I can see.
Yeah.
And that's his choice, and it's been pretty clear, I think, of the last couple of seasons. So I hope that we get something for him rather than just let him go for nothing, because otherwise it's all been in vain, if you like, signing that contract.
By the way,
good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him. By the way, I don't think Darrell Clarke's going to use him while there's this uncertainty. I think for me, Darrell Clarke is going to want to see a certain level of commitment from players to the club that he's managing in order for him to play them. So I reckon that, we might have already seen Callum Styles play for Barnsley for the last time, possibly. So you mentioned. Sorry, go on, Andy.
No, sorry. Yes, so goalkeeper for me, definitely left wing back. And I would personally like, and we'll see. There's. I'm not as bothered at centre back, to be honest, because we've. If Donovan Pines continues to be fit, we look all right there, and there'll be some outgoings as well as incomings. Jack Shepherd, who came from non-league, I think is going to make a really good centre back. He makes mistakes, but he's young, but is inexperienced. Conor McCarthy
from Atherstone Collieries.
We're going from Pontefract
Collieries. Sorry,
and I think he's a decent player. He's good in the air. He's a decent player. He made some bad decisions with some of his passing, but young and inexperienced. So he'll have learned from being out on loan. And they need to make a decision on Conor McCarthy, because he went out on loan, and if he's good enough for us, he should have been playing. We shouldn't let them both go out on loan. For me, that was a bit of a mistake. But you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There might be no sorts of. So I would expect Conor McCarthy to go, because I don't see why he'd sit for a final year and not look at first team football elsewhere. I've not seen enough of him to say which is surprising since the length of his contract, to say if he's a good player or not. But we've certainly got people that can play there. I mean, for me, I'll not keep going on about last season, but for me, it seemed a bit ridiculous that those two and Casper Lopata went out on loan, and then so all three centre backs went out on loan until he got injured. I understand, players are injured and then come back and have got to build up. So go out on loan and get some game time. Why we did that, and so then we played a right wing back, a very good right wing back at centre back, and
that's the thing.
Jordan Williams into centre back. He ain't one.
For me, moving Jordan Williams out of position was a big problem last season because I think he's way better at right wing back, and also you want to have an actual centre half at the back. So that's why, Andy. I mean, I think we can probably agree that Donovan Pines, Mael de Givigny, and Josh Earl is a good back three, right?
I would say so, yeah.
Sure, but if are you going to be happy with Conor McCarthy, Jack Shepherd, or Casper Lopata if one or two of those get injured?
I'm not so. Like I said, I'm not so sure about Conor McCarthy. I think for his benefit as well, for everybody's benefit really, but particularly for his, it'd be good for him to get another club if he's not going to play at all for us. Which, with the three you've said, I can't see it. Jack Shepherd could still learn, and I could. If for example, you said those are back three. If there comes a game when, say, Josh Earl's injured or suspended for a game or a couple of games, I personally would have no problem with Jack Shepherd playing on the right-hand side at the back, left-hand side of the back. I'd have no problem with that. Similarly, if Miles got injured or suspended, I wouldn't personally have a problem with Lopata playing there either. It's if they move people about. Lopata, when he started last season, played as the middle of the centre backs. Maybe he'll get quicker. He's not very. It weren't very quick last season when he played before he got injured. So I ain't got a problem with any of those. I think for us it fell apart, and it were only after a handful of games that when Donovan got injured, the others had gone on loan, weren't going to be playing much, and then he got injured, and it just messed it all up considerably. Like I'm saying, a good, and I'm pleased for him that he's gone to Portsmouth. A good right wing back played out of position, and not a right wing back, not a good right wing back, but not a centre back. Not particularly strong in the air, not particularly strong in the tackle, but quick, can get down the wing, can get crosses, and just didn't because he couldn't. So it really made it. So the back three, where, as I say, some will leave, but with the back three, I'm not too worried. If we've got a decent goalkeeper that don't leave it to the back three to deal with it all, I think that'd be okay for me. Midfield, pretty similar. I think now Connor's come. That's not bad. We've got Vimal Younger Nathan who's come in. At 18, who's going to be I'm expecting that he'll get some game time this season, and in certain games, he's going to be a player and a half. Vimal,
really,
player and a half. He's quick, he's strong, he's tall, so he's good. He's good in the air. He's got like some people need. Not everybody. He's got a brain, and he can. He gets the ball, can control, and looks for.
What's that like?
I don't know, Gabe. I'll have to. You need to. Maybe you for you for this season. Maybe you need to go off to see the Wizard of Oz and see if you can get one. Maybe that'd help you.
Yeah, I think so. No, but it's really exciting. I've heard a lot of good things about Vimal Yoganathan, but I think what's really interesting is the midfield area looks very congested because not only have you got a healthy number of senior players under contract, you've also got Harrison Neyman, Jean-Claude Macias, Charlie Hickingbottom, Vimal, who you mentioned, Aaron Atkinson, Jonathan Bland, and Theo Chapman. So these are all players from the under-21s who are either under contract or have been offered new deals. I'm not sure, the club haven't sort of specified, but that's a lot of players there. So yeah,
it is. And what we felt that we missed. I mean, we got a good midfield last season and whatever, and I think we would have this season. The thing that we're missing, which I hope that he'll from midfield, that I hope that. That Darrell will be able to sort out is we missed such as Luke going forward and attacking, Luke Thomas attacking with the ball, getting the ball and running at people. We didn't have that. We spent so much time even when we're attacking positions, passing it from side to side, from the right wing to the midfield to the left wing, back to not breaking people down by going at them, and making that sort of inroad, that sort of incisiveness were, well, more than a bit disappointing last season. So I hope that we can get that sort at least to, to be able to have a plan B rather than plan A revisited that weren't right good in the first place. So if we can get a midfield player or a wing back, whatever, that can go at it and go at people, then that would help. Up front, we'll talk about the players we've lost, but up front is going to be interesting. I think Sam Cosgrove cemented his place up there after a stop-start season. Certainly against Bolton, they showed why we signed him, and I'm not sure at all why we didn't play him enough. I don't know, because he looked so much better than what we'd done before. A number of times last season that the ball's played up to the strikers and it just comes straight back, and you think the defence is under pressure straight away because we can't hold it up. And I can understand not having a tall striker playing up front if you play to a striker's strength who is not tall, to play it down the channels, play it to the feet for him to move, touch and go, all that. But no, we kept lobbing it up as though our strikers were tall strikers. It's just madness, absolute madness. And then towards the end of the season, we just did the same, but we got a tall striker who could actually win it in the air. So I'm really, really chuffed for him. And he scored the goal of the season. For me, no two ways about it. The goal of the season, by far, the goal that he scored against Wickham, when the goalkeeper looked at him, moved towards him, and then fell over like a clown, and he put it into an empty net. Right, the most boring game of football probably I'd seen all season, and I came away from that game within a minute of thinking, I can't just blow the whistle. I can't take any more of this. To laughing all the way home. It was a great moment. Yeah, so Sam did really well for that.
Yeah.
Who's he going to play with? There's Max Waters. There's a footballer there. He gets a lot of stick. There's a footballer there.
It's interesting because I think you've got five strikers that you'd consider. Josie Adair is more of an under-21 striker, I think we'd consider at the moment. But you've got Andy Dallas, you've got Ollie Shaw, you've got Max Waters, you've got Aidan Marsh, and you've got Fabio Jallo. Now, Andy, I feel really strongly that you've got to give Fabio Jallo a chance, because I'm amazed that he's committed himself to Barnsley as much as he has without these sorts of reassurances that he's going to get minutes. I know he is a young lad and I know he's still developing, but I can't remember off the top of my head how many appearances he had last season, but it wouldn't have been many, certainly in terms of starts. So for me, I feel like you've got to give Fabio Jallo an opportunity, because this is a real chance to give him saleable assets. He had 15 appearances from the bench last season, which isn't too bad, but no starts. For me, that's got to change next season.
I think you're absolutely right. There are a couple of times he came on and he looked like a young lad playing against grown-ups, if you like. But some of the time, he got what I've just talked about, that he could get the ball and run at him. And sometimes he got tackled, because he was younger. He got tackled and came away with the ball. But he tried, and that's what we need to see. Somebody will go at him, and Fabio can do that. Whether that's from a striker position where he's back to goal, or whether that's to come off a big man, come off Sam Cosgrove. You could see, you can see it. The old tall striker and little
the Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips one.
All that, all that. God, yeah, all that. So hopefully, I would expect he'll get much more game time this season. Max Waters has got to show himself, because there's a footballer there, but he's getting a lot of stick. He's not showing it. Whether we're not playing to his strengths because he's not a target man, maybe he'll benefit as well. I've no idea what's happening with Ollie Shaw. I'd be surprised if Ollie Shaw stays with us, because he's forever going out on loan. Andy Dallas is a funny one, because when he's played a little bit at the start of the season, I quite liked Andy Dallas. His movement, I thought, was really good.
He's got good feet, hasn't he, Andy Dallas?
Yeah, so it might be. I don't know if it's best for him to go, but he'll need to show more that he can get on the end of things. But I do think we need another. I do think we need another striker. We need an experienced striker, if you like, because those aren't that experienced. But I think you're absolutely right about Jallo. Sam Cosgrove got injured, for example, we've been a bit of a mess up front, I think, personally.
Possibly.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Claire says hello. Hi guys, good to see you both looking well. Chaos says all going to depend on the signings. With the current squad, it'd be a struggle to push for promotion. Certainly going to become it's certainly going to become a stronger league, isn't it? Where do you think Aidan Marsh is at, Andy? Because a bit like Fabio Jallo, although maybe you'd argue that his ceiling isn't quite as high, although he has had a few years in and around the squad. Do you think that it's going to be a loan for Aidan Marsh again, or do you think a bit like Ollie Shaw, there's a bit of uncertainty?
Well, I feel for Aidan. I hope we don't loan Aidan out again, because it'll get us kicked out of the flipping FA Cup again if we do. I think Aidan deserves a chance. He's quick. And he's up and down, up and down. It wouldn't, for me personally, it wouldn't be out of the question to try him if we're playing a back three. So if we're playing with wing backs, for him to be the left side. When he's been out on the left, usually as a striker, but out on the left, it works the channels really well, and he can get across in. It wouldn't be massively out of place to try him at wing back if we haven't got anybody dedicated there, because the kid can get up and down. He's got a great engine.
Is he left-footed, Aidan Marsh?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, that's interesting.
I'm not saying he'd make a great left wing back, but
no, but yeah, I suppose at this stage you've kind of got to look at what's possible. Max Watters again, Andy. Do you know what with Max Watters? I think he had a real sort of purple patch at Crawley a few seasons ago, where he kind of got a move by chance. There was some sort of coincidence where Crawley was scouting someone at a random non-league game and ended up spotting Max Watters, and it kind of all spiraled from there. And then found some brilliant form, and then in the end got a championship move sort of very soon after being kind of a free agent in the non-league scene. So it all happened so quickly for Max Watters, and I feel like that's where if he'd had a bit longer in League Two, that probably would have been better for him in terms of his development and staying on the right pace. So where do you think Max Watters is as a League One centre forward right now?
It's going to be. I don't think we played to his strengths at all. I really don't. I think for me, his strengths are playing it down the channels for him to run onto, rather than using him as a player that's got somebody behind him playing it up to his feet for him to lay off. He's not that sort of player. It's really difficult to say, because for me, he's got to show a bit more. He's not, if it's not working for him, he's just been a passenger. But he's been in and out. He started. He's come on and not done too bad. He started and is not been showing it enough, Gabe. But I think there's a player there that we can develop. But we've got to. I hope that the new manager won't try and fit him into his mould. That we'll try and work out, if he's going to play him, work out how to get the best out of him and play to that strength, which we didn't last season. A lot of people, having had him on loan, were surprised that we signed him, last season. But who knows? This is a big season for him, because if it don't come off, he'll go. We'll sell him or let him move on. It's
sure
to create a space elsewhere. And we have got some spaces. We don't want everybody to go, because we've got some spaces. We lost Devante Cole, who couldn't stop scoring in the first half of the season. Couldn't hit a barn door in the second half of the season. So mostly it was anonymous in the second half from January, and mostly anonymous. So weren't happy with that. We obviously, I know we've got Conor Hourihane come back, but we've lost. Lost a couple of players like you've mentioned at wing back. Nicky, missed him, and he didn't have a great season last season. He's got a good left foot and can cross. But he didn't cross last season. His crossing was awful last season. But if what I can't get my head around is, a lot of the time Nicky's crosses from the left hand side went towards the front post, but we're all still stood at the back post waiting for the tall cross to come over.
Right.
Do the practice? You think, well, did the practice? For me, and I know I'm old and I don't know what I'm talking about. For me, if you've got two strikers, You have one that goes towards the front and one that goes towards the back, so you cover
Yeah.
all bases. Pull
And then
the
also
defenders
you
about.
keep defenders guessing as
Yeah,
well, don't you?
keep
Yeah.
moving. One move to the back or in the middle, and one,
Mm.
So, but we didn't. We
Yeah.
didn't. So it
I
made,
think the movement is a really important thing, because that's how you create chances, I think.
Herbie
Um,
Kane, I'm not sure about Herbie on his day is a really good player, but the problem for me with Herbie is that he was nearly always the instigator of what we called crab football. If you got the ball, he took 4 touches and then looked to pass it back rather
I
than
think
pass it
that's
forward.
not. I think
I
that's
know you
harsh,
don't.
because
Yeah,
I think if you put him in the 22-23 side, we were talking about Herbie Kane as being one of the best midfielders in League One.
he
But
is.
I think there's partly a coaching issue at play. I think partly because Luke O'Connell missed the first 3 months of last season, so initially Herbie Kane's role was slightly different, and then Connell didn't end up quite hitting those same heights, maybe for whatever reason. So for me, I think the dynamics of Kane's season was a bit different to maybe the year before.
On his day, and when he plays as he can play, he'll make an excellent midfield player for somebody. It wasn't for us last season, and it was. I don't know. People will. I don't. I don't get this. People will say, "Oh, he didn't want to be here. He decided he were moving, and so he didn't put the effort in." I'm not sure that's the case with professional footballers. Not
Mm.
not as far back as the January, if you like. But I think it was pretty clear that he wasn't going to be
Yeah,
staying. And if, as a board, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. My personal view on football is if you know that somebody is not going to stay, that no matter what, promotion or otherwise, have decided that this is the leaving in the summer.
mm.
For me, if you can sell them in the January and take the flat, but at least you've got some money. But take
Yeah.
the flat. But they're damned if they do that because they don't want it. They don't want to go up. They're selling the best players.
Yeah,
So
because I think Barnsley fans are also being quite frustrated about that, based on
yeah,
the sort of mid to late 2010s era, where you went up under Hecky, and then
hold them.
basically loads of Sam Winnell, Conor Herahan, all those players left. And do you know what? I think what's really you've got Barnsley have got to sell players, right? You've got to become. That's how you become a self-sustainable club. But you've got to make sure that you don't necessarily grab at the first offer, that you sell at the right price, and hopefully you can make the right decisions.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I do think that this current board has started to. I mean, they're still learning as well. But I think we've started to come away from the model about taking the first. Taking the first. We're always we'll sell it. We'll sell them for a Scotch egg. I think we've started. We saw it. We saw it last season. The start of last season with Liam Kitchen, that we held out. And we thought, we're not just selling to the first person that
So
puts.
you got a great fee for
We got
Liam
a great.
Kitching, didn't you? Because that
We've
was
seen him a few times. If he's not
what was
playing,
it?
he comes to watch us.
4.5 million was it you
Well,
got
yeah.
for him?
So,
Is that? I mean, because the performance against Oxford, off the back of that performance against Oxford as well, that was remarkable for them to get that. I mean, I know it's you don't judge a player on one
no.
game, but you mentioned the board there. Where are you with Nirav Parekh? Do you have trust in the board at the moment, or more trust than maybe would have been the case a couple of years ago?
I think that they wanted people to be patient, and I think that's right and proper. And I do think that they've made mistakes, and I think we made some mistakes last season. Last summer, we made mistakes that we went for a lot of inexperience and a lot of let's sign players and for the future. There comes a time when you want. There's nothing wrong with signing players with potential, but you've also got to sign players that are going to play as well. There's a balance between.
You've got to get that balance right, haven't you?
You've
Yeah.
absolutely got to, and you've got to have players around them that can bring them on. Otherwise, they're all inexperienced and they all make mistakes. So I do think that I'll not talk about Ocean because I loved the games against Ocean and talking to the Ocean manager and their historian. We had a couple of lovely
Oh,
shows with them.
nice.
They were wonderful, and I still get messages from Mark Wells, who's the club historian. So that's really
Oh,
nice.
that's great.
We've got a good link with it. I were hoping that we were going to have a pre-season friendly against them, so I'm a bit disappointed about that because they're lovely, two lovely guys, both both Dom, the coach, and Mark. So that's a real shame. But we made a big scene of it. this, and it's not Aidan's fault, but to not. If I'm honest, I didn't know that if you weren't available because you were out on loan at York, if Aidan, if you weren't available because you were out on loan for the first, for the original tie, it meant he was ineligible for the replay. I didn't know that. I didn't know the nuances of that, but and I suspect that they didn't know. But I'm a fan. I don't have to know.
Yeah.
That truthfully they should have known, and that was just a complete mess. I'll not bang on about that. Hopefully it's sorted out this season, but the kit sponsor, the kit thing with Fanatics was an absolute nightmare last season, as well as for everybody. It was a nightmare for me as well. Trying to get the kit, ordering it on the first day, and it not coming, and then 4 months later it being cancelled and stuff like that. It was insane. And there's teething problems. Hopefully.
Do you think there's enough nous and experience and competence of how to run a football club? Because I'm not 100%. I'm speaking. I've not quite done so much due diligence on Nirav Parek's background, so I don't want to presume anything. I don't think Julian Key before a year or two ago had any much football sort of background. Mladen Sormas, I know, is very highly spoken of as a sporting director, and he came in February, which was after the Horsham debacle, so maybe he can make a difference to that sort of thing. Do you think there's enough sort of footballing experience, competence at boardroom level?
Personally, I think we're starting to get it right. I think you're absolutely right that there was some lack of experience, naivety. And Julian Kay is an excellent human being as well as everything else, but she gets a lot of stick. Don't stop her going on Twitter and getting the stick. And she's been a wonderful exponent to the women's game, and I think she's she's been outstanding for the club. So much as she's getting a lot of stick at different times, I think that says more about the people giving the stick than her. She's very enthusiastic, and it's what we need. It's what we needed. Nirav, like you say, inexperienced, but you don't have to be the most knowledgeable if you're the chairman. You just have to have people around you that know what they're doing. I think Khaled had got too much on. I think it was too much, and I don't know how experienced he was, but it didn't come across very well. A whole number of things. Closure of the West Stand, and a few different things that the communications were poor on. He went and we got John Flatman, and I've met John Flatman a few times and know John Flatman, and I think he's going to be an asset. I think he is an asset for our football club. Whether people like him, some people that don't even go to matches say, put your hands in your pockets and get some players signed. You think, well, you don't pay anything, you don't even go. So I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good.
John Flatman, what role's he going to take on then?
Is after towards the end of the season, after Khaled left, he became the he acted up first
CEO
and is the CEO. Yeah,
CEO. Okay.
And I've got a lot of. I hope it's not misplaced. I don't think it is actually. A lot of faith in John.
Remind me his background. Does he have a footballing background or
no, rugby league?
Rugby league, okay.
Rugby league background. He
but
played rugby league at a high level as a young man. I think he was England under 21s at a high level, and basically went to York and set up York Rugby League club, and then left him on a high. So he's not a football man in that respect, unless we're going to go back to Valerian Ishmael and hit the corners with eyeballs. He's not particularly a football man, but I think he'll be a really good asset as a CEO, which is why I think they've got it absolutely right by bringing Mladen in, who, like you've said, has got a lot of stuff about him, as a director, sporting director, football director, whichever you want to call it. So they're getting people in place that can make a difference, and it takes time. And of course, in football, you don't have time, do you? And it's got to be lose 2 games and they want the manager out. Win 2 games and he's the best thing since sliced bread. So we got Bit of patience.
There is a slight, just kind of looking at it there. You've got Nirav Parekh, you've got Julia. Do you know Julianne Key's title? Just roughly.
The director.
Director, okay. You got Nirav Parekh as chairman, you got Julianne Key as director, you got John Flatman as CEO, and you got Mladen Sormaz as sporting director. Now, I agree that I can see from what you've talked about that each of them have certain strengths. So John Flatman's done very well in rugby league in similar roles. Mladen Sormaz has great reviews from across Europe. Julianne Key clearly brings a real personability and sort of warmth aspect, and Nirav Parekh, has done okay and sort of winning a little bit of trust over. But there's also so these are people who are coming in from slightly different backgrounds to running an English football club, so not hugely experienced. Now, I can see two sides of that. There's part of me that's kind of concerned that there isn't a huge amount of experience and people who know how to run an English football club before, because I think that can lead to possible mistakes like maybe we've seen. However, I also feel like there's the possibility that because they've got different backgrounds, they can come at things from different angles and they can apply new ideas, and they're not necessarily going to be set in the same way. So I can see the upsides and the possible challenges.
You got to remember that when Nirav and Julianne first came anywhere near the football club, they were investors, not particular football fans or Barnsley football fans, because of where they come from. Julianne's Australian, living and working in America. Nirav as well. So it's they were investors. What I do like, or what I really liked about them, and so we've got to give people time, is that they saw where things were going with our previous board, if you like, although they were part of it, but mainly as investors. But they saw where it was going as far as the CEO was concerned, Paul Conway, and the chairman, then Chen Lee, and did something about it. Thought this is not good. Nirav became a Barnsley fan, and unashamedly a Barnsley fan. Fell in love with football and fell in love with the football club. So well done to him for that. Same with Julianne. And they took action to, if you want to call it, and they pumped a lot of money in to keep us, keep us afloat after the ridiculousness of the previous two incumbents, who just creating mayhem for us, and we were going nowhere at all. So for that, I thank them for that. I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm old, so what do I know? Julianne brought Kid Super in to do the Barnsley Stars. I can't say I were a massive fan of the Stars, but I tried to be.
I'm not sure.
I hope next season strip ain't got stars all over it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I really like a nice plain red kit. I'm a bit of a sucker for. Yeah, I'm a bit of a.
My favourite Barnsley kit for a while. It was only for a short while when we got to the semi-final in 2008, I think, against FA Cup semi-final against Cardiff. We put out a limited edition shirt for that particular match, and it was just red. It was just red. There wasn't anything else in it, and
it was red all over.
It's a beautiful strip, beautiful shirt. Not sure about the with the shirt that we had last season, with the white bit on the down the front of the shirt. We had to have red shorts, but I don't want to stick with red shorts. We're not Liverpool. We need to go back to red shirts, white shorts, red socks. That's the Barnsley way. I don't want any of that red short nonsense. But I say it again, I am old, so that's what a Barnsley shirt and Barnsley strip should be. So I hope it's going to be back to a plain red strip. So we'll see. So if they do that, they'll get my undying loyalty. If they do that, but I think they've been good for the football club, and they took action against people that were screwing the club over, and not just our club, clubs across Europe. They saw what was going off and moved against them, and have been very. Although they may be naive about football, in other aspects they're not naive. That to try and lessen the influence, they put out share issues so that other people, the previous incumbents, had either got to put money into the club to keep their share of the club, or it diminished their share so they had less influence. And really, really clever way of doing it. Really, really clever way of doing it. So we've got to give them credit for that. And like I've said, now it would appear, and it seems very clear to me, that they're getting people in place to to take us forward rather than take us back. Made a mistake with Neill Collins last season. Left it late, but made a mistake with that, with the style of football, and but it feels like they've got it right this time. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
We'll lose 4-0 at home to Mansfield on the first game, and it'll be get the board out, sack the manager, get the board out, sell them all. if we win 7-0, we'll say, it's a Barnsley way, isn't it? We win 7-0 like last season. It's a flashing pan. They'll not keep that up. So they can't win.
The first half performance wasn't great. So I wanted to come back to that midfield area because you've got Adam Phillips and Luke Connell, who have been key players over the last couple of seasons. But do you think there's a chance that there's going to be interest in Phillips and Connell?
I would expect there to be interest in both of them, to be honest. Whether or not we're, Adam's settled. You watch. I'm going to tell you that he's settled and that he's all right, and his dad says he's settled, and we'll sell him on. We'll sell him on Friday. You've got to be really careful, because last season, just before the window closed, on our show we had Alan Smith. He talked to Liam Kitchen and said, "I've heard it from the horse's mouth. Liam Kitchen is going nowhere." The next flipping day, he left for Coventry. So you've got to be really careful what you say, aren't you? Because it comes back.
But also that could be the truth at that particular time, and then someone comes in with an irrefusable offer. It's
same for any play. That's same for any club at any level. So it could be that could happen. What I would say though is, like you said earlier on, that we like most clubs are a selling club, and to stay afloat, we have got rid, if you want to say get rid. We didn't offer contracts to 4 high earners in the Jordan Williams and Nicky and Devante and Herbie, high earners for our standards. So I would not think that. I would think that we clawed some money back from that. That means that we don't have to sell anybody to stay afloat. It would be a bit daft, we bring in Hourahan in, and then getting rid of another midfield player like Adam Phillips or Luca Connell, because Luca can play further forward. And I don't expect Connor to play every single game. So, people say, he's 33, he'll not play every game. Who knows? He's not doing Cristiano Ronaldo bad at whatever he is, about 40.
I thought Conor Horan had been brought in as a coach,
Player coach.
He's player coach, right, okay.
Yeah, the actual thing is a multi-season deal. And from what we gather, it's 2 seasons as a player coach, and then after the 2 seasons, it'll be as a coach.
Right. Okay.
So we will be playing. We will be playing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting to see how he gets on. Certainly has a great connection with fans. The slight concern that I have is when Darrell Clarke was manager at Cheltenham, he had a really big initial impact. But when his assistant, Adam Murray, who you'll recognise from time at Barnsley, he left for a National League North job in, I think, around February, and Barnsley and Cheltenham's form dropped off quite a bit. And the theory goes that the pressing game that Cheltenham had under Darrell Clarke was partly as a result of Adam Murray's coaching, and that dropped off in the last third of the campaign. So I think that Darrell Clarke, I think he's a good motivator. I think his man management is really good. I think he's very driven, very decisive, very good in-game management. But I do think that he needs a more of a technical coach alongside him, who is very good at coaching both, maybe patterns of play in possession, but certainly the pressing side of things, because I think for me that's a really important thing.
Yeah, we'll see, won't we? It's going to be. I mean, when you talk about coaches, it's never one person, is it? It's always a staff, and you certainly expect from the head coach that it's somebody that's going to surround themselves with coaches, other coaches, and other staff that can bring players on and put into effect what you want them to. And he's got a whole pre-season. If I can't imagine for the life of me how he can do worse, other than not getting the playoffs. Can't imagine him doing worse, because everything I've heard, he said, man manager knows what he wants. We like Martin. I like Martin Devaney. We like Martin Devaney. and obviously Connor's come in. Some inexperience there with Connor, but there's a good link with Martin Devaney to the different players over the last couple of seasons. So hopefully he'll do well. And Adam Murray, he had a bit of a bad reputation at Barnsley with assistant coach under Daniel Stendhal, and something went off. Some people think it were his fault that Daniel left. I don't know. I don't know the in and outs of that. So
Right.
he's not got the greatest reputation at
I would be very
he's a
surprised.
decent coach.
I would be very surprised if there was something underhanded, because I don't know Adam Murray personally, but he's always struck me as being a very, very honest person. So I'd be very surprised if there was anything.
I hope you're right. I hope you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure. Where was I? Right wing back is an interesting one, because you've got three possible options there. Barry Cotter, I think there's a bit of uncertainty as to whether he's going to stay. You've got Corey O'Keefe, who's maybe been a bit of a slow burner so far, and you got Kyron Lofthouse, who was loaned out to MK Dons last season. So you got three right wing backs there in kind of similar positions to one another.
Yeah, I mean the right wing back, don't worry me. Corey O'Keefe can move into midfield if need be, or if we need to change things, or somebody gets injured, he can fill it at left wing back. He spent a lot of time last season passing it backwards, getting it out wide, and then passing it back as the centre half. But he weren't the only one. But I quite like Corey O'Keefe. He can move with the ball. So I ain't got a particular problem with Corey O'Keefe playing at right wing back. I think he'd be a good right wing back for us this coming season. So I ain't got to worry about that. Barry Cotter, Big Bazza, he's the one player that can get you off your seat, because you don't know what he's going to do when he gets the ball. Is he going to let it roll over his foot and go out to play for a throw into the opposition? Is he going to take them on? Is he going to put it past them and then go down like somebody shot him? Because he can do that. He's good at going down. Is he going to be
going forward? I think Barry Cotter, though.
He's mercurial. Nobody knows what he's going to do. He's the player that can get you off your seat. I'm not sure Barry knows what he's going to do, but he's all right. He's going to learn from it. He's got a throw and a half. He's worth a bit like bringing Conor Hourihane on to take corners and free kicks. If we get a throw in the opposition half, just bring Barry on, take the throw in, and then let him go off again. He's good with that. Sometimes you think, has he ever practiced crossing a ball in his life? Other times you think, go on, Barry, go on, show him. So if Barry gets picked at right wing back, I won't have a problem with that either, because he's not as great defensively. But if you've got a back three, it's not quite as necessary as if he's a right back in a back four, if you like. But he's got something that gets people going and puts the opposition about, because you know he's going to go at them. So I like Barry Cotter. He's a favourite of ours.
So Andy, how do Barnsley build a side that's a best 11, let's say, that's capable of finishing in the top six, and how many players do you have right now that could go into that best 11?
Oh, it's difficult to say, isn't it?
So I'm thinking
we need to replace the players that have gone. We absolutely need to replace the players that have gone.
But I'm thinking
equivalent quality if we can.
Yeah. So the back three, I think Pines, De Gevigné, and Earl could get you into the back three, because I think Pines and De Gevigné will continue to grow, and I do like Josh Earl. Do you have a right wing back that's capable of? I'm not sure that Cotter, O'Keefe, or Lofthouse or any of them are going to be quite at the level.
I think O'Keefe. For me, I think O'Keefe is, with Barry as a backup, or if we need a more attacking flair there, for Barry to come on. So I personally haven't got a particular problem with the right wing back position. But, there might be somebody out there that you think that they're the best right wing back I've seen that we signed, but for me, it definitely wouldn't be a priority area at all. So although it's replacing, although it seems as though we could do with someone to replace
Jordan
Williams. He's not played right wing. He's hardly played right wing back all season. So I don't see that's a massive difference. So no, I'm not bothered. I'm not worried about right wing back at all.
Okay. So midfield then, I think if Phillips and Connell go, then
You're trying to sell them for it. You're trying to sell. You kept spending most of last season trying to sell Luke O'Connell back to flipping Bolton. Stop trying to sell our players.
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
All right. Phillips and Connell are definitely staying.
All right. You've heard it here first. That they're not going.
Okay.
I hope they give me at least a week before it for something happens.
But I guess the reason why I do bring it up is because if I look at where Barnsley are at as a club, I think is a big rebuilding season where I think it's going to be very difficult to challenge for promotion next season for where you're at with the players that you've lost, where you're at financially in the landscape of the league. I just don't know if you're in a place to challenge for promotion. Whereas Adam Phillips and Luke Connell, realistically, they are going to want to play in the Championship in the short to mid-term future.
Well, you've said and I absolutely agree that it's going to be a strong league this season. A lot of people said last season it were a weak League One. I'm not sure it was that weak a league. League One. I don't think it was that weak. But I certainly think that this season's got the potential to be a particularly strong League One. So in that respect, it's going to be, looking at the fixtures, pardon me, looking at the fixtures earlier, you think, flipping heck, there's a lot of games there that you'd hope you'd win, but there's, like you look at some fixtures and think, oh, we'll win that, oh, we should win that. There's very few of them. And it's always, teams like Barnsley, it's always a worry if you start thinking we're going to win certain games. You've got to play to win every game. And if you're not on your mettle, you're not going to win. Whoever you're playing in League One next season, you're not going to win if you're not on your mettle. For me, I don't think. I know you do. I don't think we need that much. I do think we need to replace the players. It's all dependent, as you've said, on if anybody leaves or anybody of first, from the first team that leaves. So get a decent goalkeeper and get one that will command his area. I think the back three sorts itself out with a couple, unless we sell some of the centre halves that are going to be, if you like, in my view, the reserves, the reserve centre backs, if you like, that they want to have first team football, so they leave. But as it stands now, we certainly need a goalkeeper. I do think we need like you said, a left wing back without any doubt.
Yeah,
a midfield player that can drive forward, that's not just relying on Barry driving forward. And for me, a striker, definitely need another striker, because it's Fabio's too young to put all the eggs in him in his basket to say he's the one that's going to do it. Much as he should get a lot more game time this coming season, and I suspect that he will. Jorgen Nathan will. Niemann, I'm not sure about Niemann. Maybe if needs must, he can play. He can certainly play. Aidan can play. And Theo Chapman that we talked about, he spent some time last season playing and then went off the boil a bit and what have you. But there's footballers there. But I do think we need some experienced goalkeeper, quality left wing back, a quality striker, because it only takes one injury, one suspension. And, we saw last season with Luca being injured, it just makes a big difference, just a big difference. And I think we could.
Yeah.
So I don't, as it stands now, defence okay, without the goalkeeper, midfield okay, and strikers okay with an addition, and of course a left wing
Yeah,
back. So,
that's a big one. Expectations for this season. I don't think you're in a position where you can say you expect to finish in the top six just because of how competitive it's looking. So is the expectation a top half finish whilst developing things and making sure your performance levels are there and making sure you've got some foundations to go into the next campaign with?
Yeah, if you hope for a top half finish, you're gonna get a top half finish, aren't you? If you hope and expect to go for the playoffs, then you're going to get the good chance.
But I think for where the
playoffs,
where the club's at financially, structurally, you could argue all sorts of levels stylistically. There's so many areas where I think the club needs to actually take a bit of a step back, and I don't know if it is feeling a bit more like a transitional season for me. So I think top half whilst if you can finish in the top half, but you can get to the end of the season and say, wow, we've got Mail to Javinia, he's a massive asset that we've got under contract. We've got players like, I know, Vimal Jonker-Nathan's had a great breakout season, and he's going to develop a lot. We've got Fabio Jallo under contract for another couple of years, and he's a massive, if you'd finished top half and you've got all these young players that you think are big assets for the club to sell on percentages, and then you can reinvest a little bit, I think that's a productive 12 months, because it's like you finished in the playoffs last season, but it was so sort of unconvincing, and it's like I just think you need a big rebuild, Andy. I really do.
No. There's only a few players. If we can replace the players that have gone. What you got to remember, though, when you're talking about expectations, you at your age with your club, you can have 10 years. You could quite happily sit there for 10 years and say we consolidated. When you're 70-year-old, you haven't got time for a consolidation season. We don't want any of that. I remember Nirav saying to us, slow growth, gradual improvement. I said, don't take too long, Nirav. I ain't got time for you to take too long. And even more so for Smithy, who was 4 months older than me. We haven't got time for let's consolidate next season and then go for it the season after. Who knows what's going to happen in a year's time? So now we need to get them replaced and go for it now. If we go for it, if we don't make the top 6 or the top 2, if we don't get promotion by whatever route, but we've shown that we went for it and had a good go and really showed the ambition as a club and as a team, but just didn't quite manage it. At a pinch, I'd live with that. What I can't live with is that we miss out with a top half finish instead of automatic or playoffs, and play like we did last season for big swathes of last season, because it put me to sleep. Well, it did put me to sleep some of the time. It's not easy when you're my age. It did put me to sleep. So if they go for it, I'd sooner as win 3-2 than 1-0. Just go for it and show the mettle and show some grit to go and try and win a game rather than not lose a game. And that, for me, and I would say for a number of Barnsley fans, I know we all want success, but for me, some of the success would be that we start playing the football that we played, sometimes under Michael Duff, but particularly under Daniel Stendel, that we went for it and went to play attractive attacking football and give it a best shot. That if we finished 10th or 9th or something like that, but did that, I'd at a pinch. Well, I hope I'd live with that for another season. But, who knows what's going to happen? Life's short. Who knows? But,
yeah.
So, but no, I think we'll go for automatic. Not automatic. I think we'll go for playoffs again. If we recruit, not a scattergun approach. Let's see how many, get lots of players who are of a similar standard or all inexperienced who needs to be brought on. I think we loaned out more players last season than we've ever done before, I think. So, I would hope that the ones that aren't going to make it for us, that we do the right thing and let them either sell them or let them go for their benefit. And I suspect we might do that. But we need to recruit wisely this time, more quality than quantity, and give it our best shot. Because if we don't, let's just say that Luca and Adam are staying this season, and I expect them to, if I'm honest. If we don't make a good shot at it this season, who knows what next season is going to bring? You can be forever in transition by losing. You're losing your better players. I think we've got a good chance this season of replacing the ones that have left if we act wisely and just get maybe three, maybe 4, but certainly 3 good replacements. Hourahan being a good start, but maybe another 3 good quality experienced replacements that you can rely upon. And who knows? Difficult league though. There's going to be lots of teams thinking exactly the same. That I expect to be there, they're up at the top. That we've got a challenge, your Boltons and your Peterboroughs and all that, and maybe even Birmingham, and who knows? Huddersfield, maybe, who knows what's going to happen? Rotherham, who knows what team Rotherham's going to feel, so.
Yeah, do you know what? That Luke kind of looks a good player. I wouldn't mind us going in for him.
You should do. You should do. I reckon he's worth at least 10 million to Birmingham.
We got a 20 million budget, no problem at all.
That makes you wonder why he got relegated then, doesn't it? It could be that you weren't good enough. Maybe that's what it was. At least I've managed to get relegation in, unlike you. Yeah, I'll remind you again. Oh, Barnsley got relegated 3 years ago, and and Darrell Clarke got Cheltenham relegated. Yeah, Birmingham got relegated.
True. So where was I? So we're saying playoffs is the aspiration for Barnsley this season. Give me the big reasons, just to condense everything we've talked about on this podcast. Big reasons to believe you'll get a top six finish this season, Andy.
We've got a year under our belt with certain players, So Josh Earl will have a pre-season to settle in. He started really well when he came in January. Tailed off at the end, but he weren't the only one that tailed off. But I do believe he's a good player. Mile will have another year under his belt and showed himself to be a quality defender. I like him playing in the centre, but I understand him playing on the right, and he can come forward with the ball. Mm-hmm. And I like to see, if you're playing the back three, I like to see centre backs coming forward with the ball and creating a bit of confusion for the opposition midfield. Yeah. So I do like that. We do have to have a goalkeeper, so it's all the imponderables. We do have to have a really commanding goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. And it's not, you can have the best shot stopper in the world, but if you're just going to leave it to your defence to defend all the free kicks and the corners, that's not enough. You need to be able to command the area and give the defence that confidence, if you like, and security. So if we do that, then I can see that the defence, for me, will be fine. Same with midfield, but we do need somebody that can to play with Big Sam that can put the ball in the net. Jallo will be a great asset this coming season.
I think he's got to start. I think he's got to really come into starting regularly next season. Hopefully he will. So the reasons for doubt. For me, you're a very optimistic Barnsley fan, so I'm going to give you a reason.
Don't go around saying that. I've spent my life being miserable.
Okay.
People will not recognise me if you start saying that I'm optimistic. Flipping heck. Anyway, go on. I don't mind being optimistic for once.
Okay, right. But what I think is you've got a lot of players under contract for next season. But I only see I think Dijvigne, Earl, Pines, Phillips, and Connell. And Cosgrove. So you got how many? 6 players there. I think you got 6 players there who I think are good enough for the top 6. But I think the rest of the squad right now is possibly taken up by players of either high potential who might be good enough, or players who maybe aren't quite good enough. And I think you've got a lot of the wage budget taken up by players who aren't really going to push the envelope for you. So that's my worry with Cadden, Cole, Kane, Williams all gone. I think you're going to need to replace that top level quality. And I think you're going to need to offload some of those players as well that maybe aren't quite at the level that you need. But you've also got to find people clubs who are going to take them.
Well, you named 6 players there, plus Horahan, so that's 7 players. That's only
no. Horahan is declining. I think that's a bit of a sentimental signing.
He was the captain of the team that got automatic promotion last season.
He wasn't actually that great for Derby, I don't think, last season.
Get my head around this. I don't know what you're talking about sometimes. Are you sure you're a football fan and know what you're talking about? Because I'm not sure. He's obviously not the same player as he was 8 and 9 years ago. I appreciate that. But when he came to Barnsley, he got a lot of stick for not being good enough, and then showed himself. Here's one for you, then, Andy.
When Luca Connell was absent for the first third of last season, you had to play Herbie Kane at the base of midfield.
No, we played John Russell. Most of the time it was John Russell.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so sometimes Herbie Kane, the odd game it was Herbie Kane, mainly John Russell. Neither of them are mobile enough. No. So if you're asking Conor Horahan to operate at the base of midfield, you're going to get, especially with a wing-back system where your wing-backs play really high up, if Conor Horahan doesn't have someone who's athletic and quick and can get across the pitch, you're going to be torn open in transitions. So for me, I'm not sure. I think maybe Horahan can bring some quality if he's playing alongside a number 6. But if Luke O'Connell goes or if he gets injured, I don't see who else there is that you can actually put Horahan alongside and you won't get become too open. So for me, I don't think he's got the legs personally.
We'll see. We'll see. I think, it's all ifs and maybes. If we sold Adam Phillips and sold Luke O'Connell, we'd be in a right mess, as would any club that sold players of that quality. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But if we're working on the premise that they're not going with the team that we've got, we do need to make some quality additions. And I've no doubt about that. Somebody that can score, somebody that can play off a striker. Like Sam Cosgrove, if Cosgrove got injured, we haven't got anybody really that can replace him with it. The same sort of player, the same type of player. So there is, we'd have to play a different style if you got injured, suspended, whatever.
Where's Matty Wolf at with his development, Andy? Do you reckon he could come in this season?
I like Matty Wolf, and he's been injured for so long, and
Right.
not just the once, that you worry, or I worry, about whether or not he's going to be able to make it. He can play, and he's the centre midfield he can be strong, he can be commanding. Whether he'll be able to, whether his body will let him do it, I honestly don't know, Gabe. If he doesn't, then I can see it ending not very well between Barnsley and Matty. I hope it, because he's a player that we had high expectations of, and I hope he doesn't go to. We had a player a number of years ago that is still now playing football, called Paul Digby, who was an exceptional, not fast, but an exceptional midfield player, clever, getting on the ball
defensively, isn't he, Diggers?
Absolutely. But he spent most of his time at Oakwell injured, and I don't know what it's about us and injuries. So he didn't realise his potential at Oakwell, and he left. And he had to, for our benefit and for his benefit. And I'm so chuffed that he managed to pull himself back into league football. I hope it's the same for Matty, that he continues to be able to play, professional football. But I just don't know if his body's going to be up to it. But we thought the same about Paul. So I just thought it could be an asset. If he gets back to how he was before. Whether he will or not, I honestly don't know. It's starting to get worrying that it's constant. Not quite there. Nearly gets there and then breaks down again. It's a worry for all professional footballers. So.
Yeah. So where was I going to go? Final question. Too early for prediction, Andy, obviously, because a lot can happen.
6.
Okay. All right.
Minimum 6.
Minimum 6. Okay.
Bolton in the playoffs.
Again.
It's always Bolton in the playoffs or the cup. We can't just play Bolton twice a season. It's not right.
No.
There's something wrong if we only play Bolton twice.
Give me a number, Andy, between 1 and 10 to denote your level of optimism for next season.
Oh God, I'm never optimistic. 6. I try.
6.
You see, that's more optimistic than not. It would have been, if we'd have stayed as we were with Neill as manager, it's probably been about a 3. I think I could have slotted into the back 3 and passed it about. Me and Smithy could have passed it to each other in the back 3 the way we did.
You were an old school centre forward, to be fair, Andy, weren't you? In your day?
No, I was centre back. No, I was a sweeper.
Oh, I thought you were centre forward. Okay.
Yeah, I played up front and played in midfield, but now we're a sweeper. I used to let the big soft lad playing at the side of me, a bit like you, really, head the ball. They could head the ball, and I mean, you got to remember when I was playing football, it wasn't the modern football. It was cases with flipping laces, and if you played in the rain or in the wet, it weighed a ton. If you headed it, no wonder there's so many people that are, the links that people are looking at with dementia and what have you, with the number of. There's no way on God's earth. From a goal, if a goalkeeper punted it up from his hand, there's no way on God's earth I'm heading that thing when it was cold and wet. He used to have daft lad aside of me doing that, and I swept up behind him. Looking stylish. playing nice, but a bit like we're doing that. I was John Stones. That's who I was. I was John Stones.
Okay, right.
Not quite, funnily enough, not quite at his level, but I was John Stones.
Okay.
I went to Daft Lad Ed in it. I'd leave that to you.
Absolutely. Right. So, where was I going to go? I think
Six.
six. Okay, brilliant. Well, we'll wait and see how Barnsley get on. Listen, it's been great to have you on the podcast, Andy. Thanks so much for your time. Really do appreciate you joining us. Everyone, go subscribe to Red All Over, the fan channel on Barnsley on YouTube. This has been the EFL Debate Summer Deep Dive on the Reds. Get your comments in below. Let me know where you think Barnsley will do this season and how you think Barnsley will do this season. How optimistic you are for the Tigers. Thank you so much, Andy. Thanks to you for watching at home. Get yourself subscribed to EFL Debate on YouTube or Spotify, and we'll see you again very soon.